All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today we are going to be talking about everything that I picked up in the month of March 2021, and this is by far the most expensive pickups video that I've ever done for a month. Like, my wallet hates me. My bank account was like, I guess we're going to retire 5 years after our initial date that we had in mind, but I had a blast with everything. So, let's get on with everything because there's a lot to talk about, and a variety of things too, which is what I really like. Well, video games and omnibus, and I guess there's not that much of a difference here, but still. Xbox Series X. I got one. Very happy to have a next generation console. It is insanely fast. My expectations were very low for this next gen because, as we all know, it's not going to be as big leaps as we used to get, but there are still definitely some improvements, and more like maybe quality of life improvements. SSD, everything is so fast. It is ridiculously fast. The thing, though, that I would really like, and I'll do a separate video probably for the Series X, is that I wish that they had more than just a terabyte. Like 2 terabyte, I think, would be optimal. Like we were able to get like a terabyte with the PlayStation 4 Pro, I believe, and the Xbox One X. So I don't know why we don't have an option to get a little bit more for something that is going to definitely be taking up a lot more room. Like, there are some games that are just going to be absolutely massive. Call of Duties, for example, are incredibly big, especially if you get the Warzone and things like that. So to me, I think that we need definitely more space on these, and SSD, though, everything loads faster. I've played a few games. We'll talk about that in a separate video because it's not really supposed to be a review of the Xbox Series X, but I've tried some games. I tried Skyrim, and Skyrim blew me away about how well it played and looks on the Series X. That was an experience right there. So to me, that alone is worth the Series X. And I ended up getting Game Pass. There's a lot of things that I ended up getting that I wasn't really thinking of getting. We'll do that in a separate video. But yeah, Series X, liking it so far, and we'll do a separate video for that. Now we're just going to talk about, I didn't get Harvest Moon 64. I already had that, but I ended up getting a bunch of cases, plastic cases, to put my 64 games in, and they would work for SNES games too. This makes me want to buy more old games, which is bad because I don't really want to do that because I mean, I already have enough things. But yeah, I love this. It just adds an extra shine to it. It protects it a little bit more. It gives them like if it's an older game that's kind of scrunched up a little bit, it gives them this more uniform look. So I'm really happy with this right now. And then all the new games that I got. Radiant Historia on the Nintendo DS. This is something that I've wanted ever since it first came out. I bought it brand new. It did get a remake on the 3DS, but when I was looking at both of them, I honestly liked the style more in the DS version. I'm sure that the 3DS is probably better, arguably, but in terms of the looks, I thought that this looked a lot more... The art style was resonating within me a lot better with the DS version, so I ended up getting this one. It's something that I've been wanting for a very long time, and I finally nabbed it, so I'm very happy to have that. 3D or the Nintendo Switch, I went a little bit crazy. So we had like Super Mario Day, which was March 10th, where they had a bunch of sales. So I ended up getting 2 specific Switch games: Luigi's Mansion 3 for $50 here in Canada, so it'd be like $40 American, give or take. So I'm very happy to have that. Like, we never get these games on sales, and I've played the first one. I own the second one. I've played the second one. I probably prefer the second one from what I remember anyway. And this one looks very fun. And I think there is co-op in this as well. I like to play the single player. I also got Mario Tennis Aces. Honestly, I don't know what the heck I'm doing with this. Like, I feel like I kind of want a complete Switch collection in terms of the games that I would want to try out. And I feel like a lot of first-party games like this, where I'm not going to get a lot of use out of this. I'm currently going to beat the single player in 5 hours, play a little bit online, and that's it. But if I was going to do that, I wanted to get it as cheap as possible, and 50 Canadian seemed about the right price. Then we got some Final Fantasy games that I ended up getting for $20 each, which is just an absolute steal. Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2. The HD remaster, where the physical edition, the first game is on the cartridge, and the second game is a digital download whatever. I don't really care. I don't even know if I'll ever play the sequel. I played the first one though. Never beat it though. Also, Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, or Final Fantasy 12. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have an HD, but it is HD. I'm just very happy that Square Enix has really supported the Switch, and actually even the Xbox at this point. I don't really care about playing Final Fantasy on the Xbox, but the Switch, because you can play it on handheld, and maybe not necessarily these older games. I'll still try them out definitely on handheld, but the main one that I'm very extremely excited for is Final Fantasy IX. We have a physical Final Fantasy IX on something other than PlayStation 1, and that just excites me to no end. This is my favorite Final Fantasy. This is one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. I absolutely love Final Fantasy IX, and specifically for Vivi. He is just amazing. I already had it. I already have Final Fantasy IX. I have the PlayStation 1 version, physical. I have it on the PS3. So it was just the regular port of the PlayStation 1 version on PS3. I got it on the PS4, the HD port that they had, along with the digital of it on the Switch as well. And now I have the physical copy of the HD port on the Switch. So I synquadripped or whatever that would be 5 times I have this game, but it's totally worth it, and I absolutely love it. So keep doing this kind of stuff. If they could ever make a sequel to this, or a remake like they did with Final Fantasy VII. I want Final Fantasy VII completed because that's also freaking amazing. But Final Fantasy IX, if you could do that, I'd be so happy. All right, now we've got my first Series X game, which is Gears Tactics. I hate this logo. It's essentially just the same thing as an Xbox One game that I also picked up. But look at that. It's the exact same thing. It's because it plays on Xbox One, so it looks the same. There's no difference. I know that for a lot of people that doesn't matter, but to me, if I'm getting a next generation game, I want it to look different than the other ones if it's physical. Could you have just changed the color or something to make it a little bit different? That's all that I really wanted. The other thing too that I don't like about them is that they make this embossed, and it's like this scratchy feeling. Just make it all uniform. One thing, like they don't do that for the Switch. They don't do that for the PS4. They didn't do that for the 360, the Xbox. Anyway, this is just a complaint from somebody that really loves physical media. But anyway, I tried Gears Tactics. Not the kind of game that you would want to really show off the Series X, other than how fluid I guess it is. But in terms of how it looks, it's a tactics game in the Gears of War series. And it's fun. I definitely like it. There are some interesting things definitely going on. It feels like XCOM, I guess. It would be the nearest thing that I could think of. It's fun, but it's not something that really shows off how amazing the Series X is. Next up, that you already saw, Darksiders 3. This was on sale for, I think, like $15 Canadian. Brand new, so I had to hop on that. Oh, and I also got Gears Tactics for $20. Yes, it is on Game Pass. I don't really care. For $20, I want the physical. I'm going to be very strange with Game Pass. Don't judge me. I'm a physical kind of guy. I'm going to play these games. If I end up liking them, I'm going to try to pick them up for cheap in physical. I make no sense. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I also got Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout on the PlayStation 4 brand new. This game has gone up in price, so when I was able to pick it up for almost retail price, I paid a little bit more than $80 here in Canada for this, but I am so happy to have this. This is the Atelier games now, I guess, are getting a little bit popular because of this game. They made an actual sequel for it that came out this year in January, but I wanted to play the first one. And this, I've been looking at the series for so long, and because everybody's been freaking out about this game and that they have an actual sequel to it with Atelier Ryza 2, I thought that this would be a good jumping on point for the series. Let's show off some comic book stuff. I ended up getting the Spawn Compendium Volume 1, which is a soft cover. It's like there's glossy paper, soft cover, not oversized, but you get the 51st issues for a relatively cheap price. It's $59.99. I think that's American though. I ended up getting that could be Canadian. I have no idea. I got it on sale for $47. I used a $20 gift point thing that I had with Indigo, so I ended up paying $27 for this. So I can't really complain at all. I love Spawn. I'm going to enjoy this. It's a cheap way to collect it. I'm still very happy. Hardcover would be freaking awesome. They're going to release hardcovers in a few years from now, and I'm going to end up getting it. Then we also have X-Men by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee, Volume 2 Omnibus. Very happy to have this. Like, this is... I cannot wait to dive into this. It's going to take me a while because I'm going to have to read a lot of X-Men to get to that point, but I'm very happy to have that. And speaking of X-Men that I will have to read before that is X-Men, Uncanny X-Men Volume 4 Omnibus that came out. I'm very happy to have this as well. Glad that we're getting Volume 4s. We're also getting Volume 5 of Spider-Man in September. That one I can't... That's the one I'm most excited for. More Spider-Man, and we're getting the reprint of Volume 3. I got the reprint of Volume 2. Great news for Omnibus. Expensive as hell, though, and now I need a PS5. Things are not going to get better here. Things are just going to get progressively worse. But I'm excited. I have a new system. I'm going to be talking about my experiences with it, for what games I've tried, what I think of Game Pass, all that kind of stuff in another video in the next little bit. I might do a review specifically of the controller itself. There's not major differences, but enough to maybe talk about it in a separate video. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about some interesting stuff in the next little while. And you have all been bearded in. Beardage.